They wanted to cut down my tree, just like that. No warning, no apology, just a piece of paper taped to my door. Removal scheduled. To them, it was just wood. To me, it was everything. That tree watched me grow, held me while I cried, sheltered my mother when she was dying. It was the only thing left that hadn't left me, and they were going to rip it out for a sidewalk. But I didn't just say no. I made sure they could never touch it again. Not just now, not ever. I turned my pain into law. If you believe some things are worth fighting for, things you can't put a price tag on, then hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to hear isn't just about a tree, it's about you. And what you'll do when they come for your roots. Asterisk, you see a tree. I see my childhood, every scar on its bark. Matched one on my life. I was 6 when my dad planted it, said it would grow taller than the house. I didn't believe him, but I believed in him. He died 2 years later, but the tree kept growing, like it was holding on for him. I used to sit under it when Mom worked late, did my homework in its shade, buried my first dog beneath it, kissed my first love beside it. It stood there through storms, breakups, funerals. It never asked for anything, just stayed. Some nights I'd rest my head against its trunk and swear I could hear it breathing. That tree knew everything about me, and that's what they wanted to erase. A living diary, an anchor to a life I fought to survive. Then one day, a letter in my mailbox, city seal, official tone. Sidewalk? Expansion project. Tree violates setback ordinances. Removal imminent. Imminent. Like a death sentence with a deadline. No one knocked, no one asked. They measured. They decided, to them. I was just a box on a map. But to me, this tree was the last thing left that hadn't changed. I tried calling emails. They bounced me around like a joke. Nothing we can do. It's not personal, just policy. But that's where they messed up because me, it was personal as hell. They thought I'd roll over, let them bring chainsaws to my memories. But when they threatened my roots, they didn't know they were waking something up in me. I wasn't just going to fight back. I was going to make damn sure they could never do this to anyone else again. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there on the porch, watching it sway in the wind. I could feel it, the countdown. Like I was waiting for someone to break into my home. And in a way, I was. Next morning, I called City Hall again. Asked for a supervisor, got transferred. Hung up on, called again. Every call, same lines, we're just following code. It's out of our hands. You have 10 days to comply. Comply. I'm not the kind of person who just watches my memories get bulldozed, so I started digging. Not in the dirt. In the books, municipal codes, historic ordinances, old lawsuits, loopholes. I spent nights reading things most people never touch unless they're getting sued, eyes burning, coffee cold. But I found things. Little cracks in their system, and one line, one forgotten clause, changed everything. Trees of historic or cultural significance may qualify for protection under city preservation laws. Historic cultural, they didn't think it mattered. But to me, that tree was history. So I made calls, contacted local historians, found a woman who'd lived in the area for 70 years. She remembered my dad. She remembered the planting. She gave me her statement handwritten. Then I talked to a preservation lawyer, pro bono. Said my case was a long shot. I said, so was every fight worth winning. Then I launched a petition. Not for signatures. For voices. I wanted stories. Anyone who'd walked past that tree, sat beneath it, took photos near it. They sent them. Hundreds. One woman said her baby took their first steps on that sidewalk. Another said she used to pray under its branches when she was homeless. That tree. It wasn't just mine. It belonged to all of us. I printed every story, filed every page, attached every photo, and I submitted my application to make the tree a protected legal landmark. And then I waited. 2 weeks passed. No calls. No updates. Just silence. Then a knock at the door. City official. Clipboard. Neutral face. He looked at the tree, then at me. Said, "You filed a petition." I handed him the folder. He flipped through it quick. Careless. Then he chuckled. "You really think this qualifies as a landmark?" That laugh lit a fire under every part of me that was tired of being dismissed. I looked him dead in the eye, and I said, "I don't think I know." That moment changed everything, because I didn't flinch. I didn't ask for permission. I declared it. Days later, I got a letter, certified, stamped. The city had scheduled a review. It wasn't a win, but it was a crack in the wall. The hearing was set for Tuesday. I had 3 days, so I turned my house into a war room, post-its documents, a map of every preserved tree in the city. I rehearsed my speech in front of the mirror, not to sound smart, but to sound unbreakable. The day of the hearing, I walked in alone, Small room, council table, city reps. And me. They called it case number 2731. I called it the fight for my roots. I stood up, held my father's photo in one hand, the petition in the other. And I told them, this isn't about a sidewalk. This is about memory. This is about community. This is about every voice that gets buried under concrete just because it doesn't fit a city plan. I read the stories. I showed them the signatures. I played a voicemail from an elderly man who said, every time I pass that tree, I remember my wife. They didn't speak for a long time. Then the head of the committee looked at me and said words I'll never forget. You've made your point. We'll review it under the Landmark Protection Clause. Asterisk, a week passed. Then 2. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart stopped. Then, it came an email. Subject line. Landmark status decision. Tree at parcel number 1842. My hands shook. I clicked. The first line said it all. Your petition has been approved. I read it again and again. Because sometimes, victory doesn't come with fireworks. It comes in silence, in stillness. In knowing you stood your ground, and the earth didn't move without you, that tree, the one they tried to erase. Now it's protected by law, not just any law. A landmark designation. It can't be trimmed, it can't be touched. Not without a public vote, a council review, and a preservation hearing. They wanted to clear space, but instead, they carved my memory into the legal record. They tried to delete my roots. I turned them into law. The next day, the city workers showed up, chainsaws in the truck bed. They stood there, looked at the sign bolted to the trunk. Designated cultural landmark, protected under city ordinance for 2 to be. They packed up, drove off. No words. Just silence, the kind that respects. I walked up to that tree, put my hand on the bark, and I swore. I felt it breathe again like it knew, like it felt the shift. It had weathered storms. It had survived time, and now it would outlive all of us. Asterisk, I still sit under that tree, still lean against the trunk, still trace the lines in the bark like a map of who I was and who I became. But now, strangers stop too. Some just look up. Others touch the plaque. One man stood there crying, said, my dad used to walk me past this every Sunday. People send letters. Thank you for fighting. I didn't know we could do this. You gave me hope for my own fight, and that's when it hit me. This was never just about one tree. It was about every single thing they try to tear down, because it doesn't fit their budget or their plan or their version of progress. But what they forget is that some things are bigger than blueprints. Some things hold souls. Music softens. Piano slow. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be powerful. You don't even need to be loud. You just have to say, not this time. You have to be unreasonable. Enough to believe that your story matters. Because it does. That tree, my tree, now belongs to history. Not because it was the tallest or the oldest, but because someone said no. Because someone said, this matters. And I'm not backing down. Asterisk, they'll tell you it's just a tree, just a house, just a rule, just how things work. But behind every just is someone's entire world. That's how they win, by making you feel small, alone, powerless, but you're not. I stood up for a tree and changed the law. What are you sitting on right now thinking, there's nothing I can do? What's your version of this tree? Maybe it's your neighborhood. Maybe it's your story, your culture, your grandparents' land, your childhood home. Something the world says is in the way, but to you, it's everything. This world moves fast. It bulldozes anything that doesn't make money or fit the blueprint. But you are allowed to stand still, to hold your ground, to be the one voice that says, no, this stays. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to move, and when you do that, you don't just save something, you transform it. You turn pain into purpose, memory into law, and loss into legacy. Asterisk, I didn't plan on becoming a symbol. I just didn't want to lose the one thing left that still felt like home. But maybe that's all it takes. One person, one moment. One refusal to back down. You don't need to be fearless. Just honest. Look around you. What's being erased while you stay quiet? What's worth planting your feet for? Because this wasn't just about a tree. It was about roots. About fighting for the things they tell you not to fight for. About becoming the line they can't cross. So here's my question. For you, what's your tree? What's the one thing you'll protect with everything you've got? Leave it in the comments. Tell the world what you refuse to let go of. And if this story lit a fire in you, don't scroll past subscribe. Not just to a channel, but to a mindset, to standing, to speaking, to staying. Because the next time they try to cut something down,